A nice welcome to From Optimization to Reinvention. My name is Judith Andresen. I'm an Agile coach and an organizational developer. We are supporting teams and organizations since 14 years to become faster, more efficient, and to change their business models. And actually, I want to talk today only about how to change a business model. And a lot of people talk about that, but they only talk about that and it won't happen. And therefore, I'd like to tell you why is this happening and what you can do about this so that your business really changes. And I have some forward for it. I'm trying, so ask questions, really ask questions, but, and I will provide the most detailed answer I can give, but this is not a one-on-one coaching, so I might give an idea of why things are happening, but I can't go in every detail. So, why I'm talking about changing the business model. The first is AI and robotics are shifting our business radically. And this is a difference to 20 years ago. So when I started doing business, everything was clear. I know my business was growing when I had more people. That's it. And I had to be more efficiently, and then my earnings would raise. That's it. But nowadays, it's about changing the whole idea. And most of the people are not able to change their business because they are thinking in the system, not on the system. And I have some ideas how you might change your way of thinking about your business. And therefore you need the Copernican shift of business. You need to change the focus on what you are looking when you think about your business. And that's what I'm doing. Okay. Ready to go? Yes. Okay. So, there is a saying about Henry Ford. No one knows if he ever said this, but it could be true. He said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. They wouldn't have said cars. And if I ask you what is your business and how do you want to change it, people are talking about faster horses. They are not talking about cars. And what Henry Ford did is he didn't improve the horse business. That's not what he did. He used the assembly line to produce affordable and easy to handle mobility. So he was at the core, he thought about mobility and he changed the way how people can drive or go from one point to the other point, how they transport stuff. So he didn't think about how to better or to fasten the business of horses. He changed the idea by using the assembly line because that made mobility affordable. People could build cars before that, but it was too expensive. So if you had to decide, do I buy a horse or do I buy a car, people tend to buy the horse because it was cheaper. And he used the assembly line so that it was affordable and easy to use. And there's also a saying, he said, you can have every color of a 40 when it's a black one. So he made rules for that. So he changed the business and the idea by using the assembly line. And that's what's happening with AI and robotics. It's not about, and most of the time, our aim is not to have an AI or robotics. The question is, how can we use AI and robotics to get what we want to do. So currently our assembly line are AI and robotics, and that's all about. So you really need to focus on what you want to do, and then you use AI and robotics for achieving that. It's not about, a lot of people start to build their own AI and stuff like that. It's not about that. It's about what's the core of your business and how can you achieve that. And yesterday Lola talked about that. He said, we are no longer building e-commerce for humans, we are building it for AI bots. So the question is how can I use AI bots to work with that? He also said software developers have moved beyond coding. They are now oversee and orchestrate the work of AI bots. So my question is, what is my role in that? How can I use AI and robotics to achieve that? And he said, every single purpose software as a service will replaced by eternally vibe code services.
You really matched my
And it's for scale commerce in pink.
Yes.
And now I have a side of Lars, which he gave in the he mentioned today in the keynote, 50% of enterprise software is now agentic, acting without waiting for a click. And the question is, how can we use AI to fulfill what we are doing? How can we fulfill our value? So it's not about optimizing our business model, it's about reinventing it. That's it. And so that's the why. And this is a masterclass. In a masterclass, you have to work. And my first question is, so you have to mingle with 3 or 4 of you, and you have 3 minutes. And my question is, what is the horse in your business? And then the question is, what value does this horse provide? So the idea of horses is mobility, and that changed to cars. So what do you really provide in your business? And then the question is, do you have to rethink? So are horses the thing which is okay for you, or do you have to switch? So you have 3 minutes, please mingle together with 3 people, 4 people, and have a talk to each other. What's the horse in your business, and do you have to change it? Please, have a talk. Here we go. So, I hope you had a nice conversation about the horse in your company. It's not easy, right?
No.
But that's the core.
The problem is to define the horse.
Yes.
I haven't been there, but I have my opinion, sorry. The horse is easy, but yeah, what you provide to customers.
Yes.
To detach yourself from that horse.
Because you don't know what it is. Yeah.
That's much harder, right?
And
because
yeah,
we always get drawn to this is what we do, and not what does the customer actually
yes. And this is something you have to find out. I will talk later about that, how you will find out. So, but the first thing is, what holds you back is you are in a system, and that's important. That's important. Lars talked about that people tend not to work with AI because they have the fear that they are going to replace with their own work. So what we really need is we work to work on the system. So how do we earn our money in the future, and not how do we optimize our current work staff, our people, our system. And so we need really to look not in the system, and there are superpowers in looking into the system. So I guess one of the biggest problems in Germany is that we are so good in efficiency, and that's a huge mistake when you want to look onto the system, because we are so used to look into the system, but you can't transform your business when you only have a look into it, and you really need to have a look onto the system, on the system. How do we earn our money? Is this the right customer value? Do we provide the right form of mobility? Are we at the core what the customer needs? Is there a new idea? And there are a lot of things which hold us back. And the first thing which holds us back is we don't take our time to think about the system. And therefore I have a second exercise.
Just a quick,
yeah.
Can you give maybe one more example on what is the difference between working in the system and on the system, so that everyone really gets a grip on what you mean and why this is important?
Actually, a lot of companies say we are doing learning cycles, Kaizen, Scrum, or whatever, and they say we are meeting in retrospectives and we want to minimize our failure rate. What they don't think about is, are the right systems connected together? Is this the right service which I provide? So I can minimize a special KPI in a chain, in a supply chain, but is this the right supply chain? Do I do the right thing? That's the question between in the system and on the system.
So in the system is the daily business?
Yes.
And on the system is working on the company instead of the day job?
Yeah. Julius?
I'm sorry that I missed the start, but from what Thomas just asked, I feel that my interpretation of the situation would be, with a horse, you always have to know the horse. You need to be there every day. You need to know the horse, how it's raised. It's a wild horse, it's not a wild horse. But a car, even though it serves the same purpose, getting from A to B, it can be fixed by a mechanic. It doesn't matter in which city, in which country, as soon as he knows the car.
Yes, but when you decide to work with cars, not with horses, there are still horses. And then someone is coming up and saying, oh, they are ill. And they say, oh, I need a new doctor, and you are busy with that. And then someone says, oh, I need new stuff to feed them. And so that's in and on. In is really improving the horse business. And on is, how do I transport stuff from A to B? That's on. That's an on question. And when you have, that's first your question?
Not a question, but just
a
picture that came to my mind when we talk about the horses and the assembly line. I thought working in the system would mean using the assembly line to get the food to the horses, get the shit away from the horses, but not thinking about, wow, with this assembly line I could do something totally different.
Yes.
And build a car.
Yes.
And build a car.
That's thinking on the system.
That's yes.
Thank you.
So recreating what you have and rebuild it in a new way is thinking on the system. But my next exercise is a little bit hard. You may open now your, in mind or in real, your calendar, and my question is, how many time do you use as a manager for working on the system?
Versus in the system?
Versus in the system.
Should we give a first exclamation what we think before?
Okay, so, and maybe you could also, when you mingle together, have a thinking about how much time do you spend in working on the system. And the next question is, You know that we are in the age of AI. We are in the age of robotic. What holds you back to think on the system? So mingle together, 3 minutes. How much time do you spend thinking in the system and on the system? And what the hell holds you back? Okay.
Bing, bing, bing.
Bing, bing, bing. I don't know the numbers which you noticed, remarked, but what I can say is less than 10%, even if you have 10% on the system, you're just managing a legacy.
Yes.
You won't transform your business.
Yes.
Sorry, this is awesome. No, but sorry.
Judith, but isn't it also because sometimes when business is rolling, then it's like a treadmill, and you are not able to get the time you need to work on it because you feel like you have to go with the flow? Isn't that the problem, having the treadmill of running business? Tretmühle, ich weiß nicht.
Yeah, I understood fully.
No, windmill not. In a treadmill is a treadmill is like.
Actually, what you really need, so as a manager, your job is to focus on the earnings of tomorrow. That's your only job as a manager. It's not about the daily business. And I'm really clear at this. When you're as a manager on that treadmill, something's wrong because you can't look over the business. And then I'm an Agile coach. I may help you. I may support you so that you can I really urge you to find a way not to do the whole daily stuff. And actually we laugh that to do daily stuff. Actually our brain,
Yeah, but actually, for my opinion, the manager's main job is, yeah, as you said, keep the wheel rolling. So yeah, I'm trying to maintain what I have right now. So at least maybe every quarter, maybe I will try to change my mind or working on the system, not every system. This is once every quarter, not everyday job or something.
But actually, what you need to do is you have your horses, and they need the feeding,
Yes.
and you have to think. You need to spice. You need something for you as a manager where you can think about the cars. And if you don't do that, someone will come and say, I transport every stuff you have to transport much more cheaper, and then you are out of the market because you concentrated on the horses. And you need space and time to think about how to change my business course. And that's the job, the only job in my point of view as a manager. So, but
Easier said than done.
yes, and I have, so, actually you say, oh, let's talk about cars. And you say, no, I have a problem. The brown horses don't do what they have to. We have to discuss brown horses. That's how we do things around here. Yes. And that's a standard practice. You know that, right? Don't overthink. I don't want to talk about tires. I know how to handle the horse. And there is something in us and in organizations I want to tell you. we have path dependencies in organizations, and we have organizational pattern, and those drive us to only think about the daily work. And path dependencies means I have 2 examples for that, only to go deep into the science stuff. Path dependencies explains how huge is our room of possible decisions. And the more decisions we have made, the room is more narrow. So if you decided once we are working with Microsoft systems and someone has to think about an software, he or she doesn't overthink about possibilities in the Linux world or in the Apple world because you already have chosen the Microsoft world. And then the next step is maybe you have chosen a special supplier, and that always narrows your possible decisions. And this is something you can really do surveys in companies. The older they are, the smaller is the room of possible decisions. I have another, it's more or less a fable, but when you are digging water wells, maybe somewhere where it's very, very hot, people are digging the water well, everyone gets water, and then someday everyone does this, the water well falls dry. What do we do in that situation? We dig deeper. We dig deeper. We don't think about something else. And you know this. You are digging water wells every day in your organization. Oh, we have a rule for that. But we didn't follow that. We have to follow that rule more strictly. That's digging water wells. You didn't understand the explanation in the conference, so I added a line. That's digging the water well. And the difference is when you are in very dry areas of the world, in most of the areas, it helps to plant new trees. That's the car. That's a totally different answer to my problem that the water fell down. But in our path dependencies, it's like we are digging deeper.
Sure. And just to add to what you're saying, I guess part of it is what we call the sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Because in my world, when we talk about frameworks in organizations, like performance frameworks and KPIs and whatnot, right? That can be extremely restrictive because every solution that you're seeking has to be within those frameworks. And you're like, okay, maybe I need to design a better framework instead of looking at, okay, could we do something totally different?
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting.
So my next question is, when you're thinking about, in the beginning you thought about what do you want to change? And my question is, which path dependencies are on your way? And what is really disturbing you while working on that car problem? Okay? You have the idea, so what are you repeating? Where do you go into it? Maybe where you have the saying, we are always work like that, we don't do that. Okay? So have a nice talk. 3 minutes. Blick. Okay. It's me again. So I guess you recognized some habits, rules.
Maybe. Sure. the so-called silos to break.
Yes.
What to break?
Silos. Silos break.
So
Das haben wir immer schon so gemacht. We always did it like this.
Yes. And sometimes people, especially in very large companies, aren't talking about how to cooperate. They just divide, this is my part of work and this is yours. And nobody does the work. Everyone defines how to bring work, result to another person, but no one does the work because everyone is defining. So actually we had once a customer 2 weeks ago, 80 persons, and they had a conference which was very full of rules, and it just said, delete it.
Can I ask a question to that?
Yeah.
From my experience, I've always been way too open for change. So I have always, it's also a very negative thing to always question rules.
Yeah.
And that's my big problem. I cannot support a given rule because I'm always, if there is somebody who's basically needing something different, I will say, let's do it. Even though sometimes business processes are dependent on rules. What I realized is that I have always been met with a very big disdain for changing even commercial models, even if they are basically just a combination of two existing, like for example, we have dedicated teams, flexible teams, cost plus. And once I offered an idea where we would combine a cost plus model with a dedicated, having the same service, but just changing the way we invoice. And it was a terrible mistake. It took 6 months and I lost it. How is that possible?
You're interested in the answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I give you it didn't pay off for the person you urged to change.
That's 100% true.
And why didn't pay it off? Because we are defending our comfort zone actively. So what does our brain do? The calories we need a day, 50% of our calories are consumed by our brain. And thinking actively costs more energy than to do something which you do like you always do it. So if you're following a habit, it costs less energy in your brain. And we had times where we couldn't go into a supermarket and say, give me sugar. We had to work for that. And therefore, our brain is giving us applause when we are just following a habit and don't think it actively. We feel more happy in that situation. So if you say you have to change that, an alert goes up and says, bing, 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 bing. No, it will be costly. I need more energy for that. And I don't feel as well as I did before. And therefore, people tend to do it exactly the way they did it before.
Is that why I was met with so much defense? Because the person felt like I'm taking away something?
Yes, you are.
You did take away something, or you tried at least.
You tried to.
It was better for the business.
Yes, and what you need is, so when there is a second way we get to our hormones to feel lucky or happy, that's when something is happening where we can applaud, where we say, oh, that's great, I understood it, or it happened well. Then we also get those hormones. So what you need is you say, when we do this, it takes 2 weeks, and then it will be so nice. And then we can say, okay, I have 2 weeks, they won't go as well, but then I feel well, then I'm going to feel well.
So it's manageable.
It's manageable.
If you know that I presented it as a fact, then there's the better way without offering a period of transition.
Nothing in for the person who has to change.
Well, I understand that now, because I was always asking myself, like I for myself, I don't look at my personal gain or what, obviously gain, yes, monetary.
I guess we have to go into this in a one-on-one more personally, but I guess you got that idea. We are defending our comfort zone. Every person is defending the comfort zone because it takes energy to think more consciously.
That's what last
that sucks.
That's like last
that's the G curve.
Exactly. With the AI,
that's
fear and changes the ways.
And actually, when you look at a group, you see this. So it costs, when you're learning a new habit, it costs productivity in the beginning because every one of those people loses energy because they are out of the habits. That's the reason why. That's natural.
There's a nice word in German, it's called Gewohnheitstier.
Yes. So I have one thing more. Before Copernicus changed the world, so people could describe how the stars are going, and they had, so I studied mathematics and I once had a look into that formulas. They had formulas, very, very complex and complicated formulas to explain how the stars are going over the ceiling. And it was very, very complex and complicated, and they invested a lot of time, scientists invested a lot of time to explain very exactly how the stars are going, and they changed the formulas. They extended the formulas. And then Copernicus came and said, the stars are not surrounding the Earth. The stars are surrounding the sun. And that changed everything because it was so easy now then to calculate where the stars are on the ceiling. So in most companies, you're surrounding the wrong sun. And one of the suns I know are internal processes.
Inertia.
Okay. And therefore the question is, so internal process, why do we do internal processes? Because when we do this, we can grow by heads. Because when we know how to deal with 10 heads, we can deal with 20 heads. And that's the way business grew. But the question now is, what is your sun? And that's, we have to find the real customer value. And the customer value at cars were affordable and easy to handle mobility. And the question is, when you look at your business, what the hell is your sun? Because I'm very sure that the most people in that room here are calculating how to surround the Earth. And the question is, what is the real sun? And you can't repair the future. You can't, by doing better formulas, you won't change anything, and you put a lot of energy in a broken system. You have to switch your mind. And therefore the question is, what is the core problem you are solving for your clients? What is the value that you bring? And what do customers really need? We call it the Spice Girl question. And that's an interesting question, right?
in sales at least.
Yes.
I learned to fulfill the needs of the customer, so I have to make him feel good, and only if he says yes, that's the way to go. Not what I want,
yes.
Not my product, nothing. Only when he succeeds, I make money.
Yeah.
But sometimes they want a faster horse.
Yes, because that's the comfort zone. The comfort zone also for the client is the faster horse. The comfort zone for the clients are the faster horses.
Especially when they're companies.
Yes. Okay. So the question is, how do you fulfill directly how do you get to a real value for the customer? And here I have some ideas. So what you learned already is we have path dependencies, we have habits, we have comfort zones, and that's all defending to think about new cars. And this is defended in your own organization, and it's defended at your clients. Because they also have path dependencies, comfort zones, and habits. So what you need is now, and the whole system is saying, holds you back, says, don't touch this. Because when we are talking about that, that's my level of happiness, which is touched, so don't touch it. So what you need is, you need something where people can think in a space where they are free, where nothing holds them back. You need to, some kind of, you really need to offer is a space of possible thoughts, because you really, you already understand your room of possible decisions is narrowed, but you have to wind it. And there are special ways to do that. So what you could do is just pick out some people and say, just try it. Here's the budget, try it. And the first thing is, please let them out of your office rooms, because the whole office room says, this is the rule, this is the conference, this is how we do it. If you let them go, let them try something new. It's so, sometimes I go into rooms and they say, oh, we are so creative, and I'm going a great dark floor and say, doesn't feel like that. But this is something, it manages us, it forces us. So let them go. Work with real minimum viable products. Minimum viable products is the question, does the idea work? It's not such, I saw requirement books about minimum viable products. That's not a minimum viable product. It's the question, does the idea work? And maybe you are doing something manually before a special step. Maybe you're doing afterwards something like you always did. But the question is, does the idea work? And you don't ask your whole audience, you just ask a beta group. It's so important for a minimum viable product just to ask a few if it works. Then what I really love is our design sprints. 5 days. You're starting with a survey, and the last day you have your prototype. That's it. And it's fully tech. Really know what you have to do on the first day, on the second day, on the third day. And on the 5th day, you have a prototype working. So it's a fixed time frame, and you can find a new hypothesis what the new car is, and you can try to prove it. And another way, especially for very large companies, is just to build executive stuff and say, here's the extra space, try it. And it's all about, you have to let loose. The rules, the systems, the IT, everything holds the people back. And you need to free them. And that's my last exercise for you. It's about how many dependencies do you have in your work, and what should you eliminate to think about your car, the idea of a car in your company, in your business. So maybe it's okay to say those 5 people are going on a design sprint. Maybe it's about building an executive staff, whatever it takes, but have an idea about what do you need to think about your new son. Okay, mingle together, 3 minutes. What do you have to do right now? What do you have to waste? What do you have to eliminate? You're back? Hello? You're back? So, one of the last things I experienced while doing this was a publishing house. Publishing house nowadays don't earn, so they always got paid for the marketing they sold. And there was one who decided to go into some design sprints, and after 2 weeks they established a new way of masterclasses and training courses, and they nowadays are earning so much money over a subscription model they never thought of. So that's just trying it. And therefore they weren't in the original house, but they came back, and there was no top-down integration plane. It was about the growth speed, because they saw it work, so they could take over people from the old way of supporting the horses to concentrate and to focus on the cars. And that's how you do it. You don't overthink the integration plan. You just use the speed of the growth. And when you do this, then reinvention, it's not a project which you plan. It is decision. It's a decision to build your future. And that's it. Good luck for it.